Let's get started. We have a brief program this afternoon, and I want to start by saying let's consider today part of the blessing. I have no idea how Brianna Bales planned an event in the month of October where there is no rain. Watch me curse it just now. There is no rain and it's 60 degrees, and we did an outdoor event. Consider today part of a blessing. I want to start also by saying I'm thrilled to see you all here. It's great to see people, but it's incredibly, as part of the blessing, it's great to see all of these wonderful people, to see you here, to see you well, and to see you healthy, but to see you here celebrating an outstanding day and an outstanding event. My name is Brian Marlowe. I'm the president of KeyBank here in the South Puget Sound market, which for us is kind of the southern half of the state. But what brings me to the podium today is I have the high honor, the privilege of being the chair of the Chancellor's Advisory Committee here at the University of Washington, Tacoma. And I just want to say welcome to you all. Thank you for being here today. We're here to celebrate two pretty major events at University of Washington, Tacoma. And if you've been here for a while, or if you've been a fan of what's going on here at the University of Washington in Tacoma for a while, you know how momentous these two occasions are. First is pretty obvious. There's a big hole in the ground here to your side. We're here to celebrate the beginning of construction of Milgard Hall, which is our next academic building. Please, just a little round of applause if you don't mind. Let's warm up. And if that weren't enough, we're also here to make a formal introduction to you, our most important volunteers in this community. We're here to make a formal introduction to our new Chancellor, Dr. Sheila Edwards-Lang, who will make some remarks later. Big round of applause for her as well. We recognize that all of us at UW-Tacoma learn, live, and work on or near the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish people. In particular, we are situated on the traditional territory of the Puyallup. As people on this occupied territory, we have a responsibility to acknowledge the land, the ancestors who have cared for this land since time immemorial, and all our indigenous connections today. We also have the responsibility to acknowledge the histories of dispossession and forced removal that have allowed for the growth and survival of this institution. In light of this history, let us take active efforts to partner with our indigenous community members and neighbors as we continue our work together as a community of learners, leaders, and educators. I want to recognize a few people as we get started. This crowd is full of notable guests. I'm going to do my best to cover a few of those. I want to start with some of our elected officials. Congressman Kilmer. I didn't see if stand or raise your hand if you're here. A hand for Derek Kilmer. Pierce County Council Member Ryan Mello, if you're here, give us a shout out. It's hard to see with masks on. Let's give him a hand. Port Commissioner Don Meyer. Don, did you make it today? Wave of the hand. Tacoma City Council Member Christina Walker. And we also have a representative from Senator Murray's office with us today. There she is. Thank you for being here. We're going to have some recognition for our state elected officials later in the program, so I'm not missing you. We're going to do that a little bit later. And joining us today from the UW Board of Regents, I have Regent Deely Barisha. Deely, are you here? There she is. There he is. Regent Joanne Harrell. I know it. I met Joanne earlier. Thank you for being here. Regent Rogelio Riojas. Thank you for being here. And former Regent and now UW-Tacoma Advisory Board member and Real Estate Committee member, Herb Simon. Herb. For those of you that have been around, or been a Husky for a long time, you remember I was thinking about this the other day, you remember the poster of Don James surrounded by his defense, and it was, the title on the poster was, they called Don James, Coach James, the dog father. I think of Herb Simon. I think we're going to have to make a commemorative re-edition of that. Herb Simon's the dog father. He's shaking his head. He's going to talk to me about that later. I want to recognize, if I could, some of the many volunteers that are represented here tonight. If you serve on one of the UW-Tacoma advisory boards, or you served on the campaign leadership team, please stand or raise your hand right now for us. Big hand to these people. I want to pause for a minute and recognize our campus leaders. If you're a dean or a vice chancellor, please stand or wave your hand for a moment. I want to, if I could, recognize our student leaders, Andre Jimenez, and our ASUW-T student board, advisory board, ASUW-T board. A wave of the hand. There he is. Finally, I'd like to recognize our friends from our community and technical colleges. We all have the goal of expanding access to higher education in Washington, and we're fortunate to have such strong partners in this community. Thank you. Lastly, you've been great in hanging in there with me. But lastly, I want to recognize our sponsors for tonight's event before we dive into the program. Tonight's sponsors, WSECU, thank you very much. KeyBank and Multicare. We're grateful for your support, not just tonight, but always and ongoing. It's now my pleasure to bring to the stage Kim Yao, principal with Architecture Research Office, to share some design details for Milgard Hall. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Brian. I love this. The tent is like very occupied at the back and very empty at the front. So if you're feeling like cozy back there and you want to come up, please do. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, and a special welcome to Chancellor Lang to celebrate the construction of Milgard Hall and to welcome you here at UW Tacoma. I'm here on behalf of our design build team led by Anderson Construction and comprised of a long list of builders, architects, engineers, and designers, 29% business equity enterprise firms, and 30% represented by South Sound businesses. So that's really something awesome about our project. The community gathered today is a small but vital component of the larger Tacoma and South Sound community that Milgard Hall will serve. Conceived as an interdisciplinary blend of business, engineering, and design thinking, the 55,000 square foot Milgard Hall will house the Milgard School of Business, the School of Engineering and Technology, and the Global Innovation Design Lab, or GID Lab. This innovative mix of programs will be supported in the building by large, flexible classrooms and collaborative environments that will serve the entirety of the UW Tacoma campus. The building itself is founded on a series of project principles to innovate, to educate, and engage. Milgard Hall will promote interdisciplinary innovation, encourage design thinking, and enable efficient future growth. Milgard Hall will provide flexible environments for evolving modes of teaching and learning, while integrating ambitious sustainable strategies with the use of mass timber and energy-efficient construction. Milgard Hall will establish a student-oriented hub at the south end of campus at the Prairie Line Trail and will welcome this community and the broader community. Home to a unique mix of STEM and business programs, the building will house a lab wing, providing new engineering spaces on campus, including many labs, but including a machine and fabrication shop and concrete and combustion labs. For GID Lab, flexible spaces will support a design thinking methodology, including an open assembly space, design workshops, and individual project rooms. A double-height, high-impact practice space will support UW Tacoma and community-engaged learning and can be flexibly arranged for a variety of uses. The Milgard School of Business Dean's Office and Centers of Excellence will welcome visitors and invite community partnerships. All departments will converge in the connector, an open, airy, collaborative zone that promotes synergies between the School of Engineering and Technology, GID Lab, and the Milgard School of Business. The connector will extend through the building, accommodating a natural path across campus, further activating Milgard Hall as a student hub at the south side of the campus. Sustainability has been incorporated into almost every facet of the facility's design and construction. The use of mass timber was a central design priority. Wood is a low-carbon, renewable resource with less embodied energy than many other commonly used building materials. So in Milgard Hall, glulam columns and beams create an exposed structural system that is effective, educational for students, and beautiful, imbuing the space with a natural warmth. Located adjacent to the Prairie Line Trail, which is where we are, so adjacent to the site, and surrounding historic warehouse structures, the design of Milgard Hall is rooted in Tacoma's historic connection to lumber trades as the terminus of the Northern Pacific Railroad, right here in Tacoma. Exterior materials mediate between the historic warehouse structures nearby, the modern urban context of downtown Tacoma, and the surrounding campus. Local brick is used on the north and east sides of the building, which house classrooms and faculty offices, while profiled metal panels on the south and west correspond to the lab spaces within, which are visible from the Prairie Line Trail. Large windows punctuate the facade, revealing the innovative research within. If you haven't done so already, please take a moment and check out the banners along the construction fence to learn more about the project and the team. There's a lot of great info there, and you can look at the site, which is really cool. We're very thankful for the time and collaboration offered by the university, its leadership, its faculty, and especially Deans Althoff Merchant and Raj Katti, Associate Vice Chancellor for Innovation and Global Engagement, Divya McMillan, one of many titles, and former Chancellor, Professor Mark Pagano. Thank you again for your support and for joining us today for this special celebration.
Thank you, Kim. Did that turn on? Can you hear me? Milgard Hall will provide critically needed space to help our fastest growing academic programs grow even faster. With engineering, teaching, and research labs, business school facilities, high impact instructional space, and a center for innovative community problem solving, Milgard Hall furthers our mission of economic development and expanded access to the excellence of a UW education. Throughout our history, UW-Tacoma has enjoyed a deep and unwavering support from the Pierce County Legislative Delegation. Milgard Hall is no exception, and would not have been possible with about $40.5 million in capital funding from the state of Washington. Our legislators are there in Olympia year after year working for this campus and for our students. And I want to take a second to thank our many legislators in attendance tonight for their support. Senator Twenna Nobles, I saw you. Thank you for being here. Representative Kelly Chambers, if you're here, give a wave. Thank you. Representative Jesse Johnson, thank you. Representative Mari Leavitt, I saw you. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to especially thank our legislators from the 27th District, Senator Darneal and Representative Fye, who have championed our capital request for Milgard Hall in the last few legislative sessions, and of course our wonderful speaker, Lori Jenkins, as well. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. I also want to call out our donors and community leaders who've contributed invaluable support to the Milgard Hall project. And first, I want to start with Cal Bamford, who, as a community business leader and UW-Tacoma philanthropist and volunteer, has been a critical voice on our project executive committee. He and his wife, Joanne, have contributed a tremendous, the financial capital certainly is needed. It's the intellectual capital that has blown me away. I don't know. They have contributed for so long and so robustly in this community. I've been on calls with them late at night. I've been on project calls with them on a weekend. Their willingness to roll up their sleeves and deeply engage in the project has made a tremendous difference. My hat's off to both of you. Thank you for your tremendous support. Cal and Joanne Bamford and the Bamford family have provided generous support and visionary leadership for UW-Tacoma's Global Innovation and Design Lab. I could pull out my mask one more time, Professor. I won't do that. I'll wear it at the end, which is a key element inside Milgard Hall. Next, I want to call out our generous Milgard Hall private investors whose contributions provided instrumental leverage in helping us secure significant state support. And a resounding thanks to the Milgard family, both Jim and Carolyn and the Gary E. Milgard Family Foundations. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for being here tonight. The building has been named for this extraordinary family as a result of the leadership investment they made in capital resources to make this building, this hub for innovation in our community, a reality. We thank them also for their ongoing support of the Milgard School of Business, an integral part of Milgard Hall. We also want to thank these generous funders for their philanthropy supporting Milgard Hall. There's an anonymous donor amongst us. Look around. If they're blushing or someone's looking down right now, perhaps it's them. But there's an anonymous donor amongst us tonight, and I'm going to read this list. Paul and Linda Ellingson, the Woodworth Family Foundation, L.T. Murray Family Foundation, the Bates Family Foundation, Kurt and Michaela Carlson, Eric and Heather Emmons, Mark Walters, the Dimmer Family Foundation, AHBL, and the Wallace Law Firm, and lastly, Multicare. Again, one of our sponsors for tonight. What a tremendous partnership. One of our sponsors tonight, but also one of our very first corporate partners to engage meaningfully in the Milgard Hall project. I would also, please, let's give them all a round of applause as well. I also want to recognize the project executive team that is making Milgard Hall a reality, led by Craig Holt, project executive with Anderson Construction. A round of applause, please. Steve Tatke, executive director for the UW Project Delivery Group, and Kim Yao, who we heard from just a moment ago, principal with ARO. Thank you for this full support of this team as we work on the project. It's now my pleasure to bring to the stage a current Milgard School of Business MBA student who had the opportunity to work with the Global Innovation and Design Lab this summer. Let's give a warm welcome to student Shiho Hattori Lindsay.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, everyone. I am Shiho Hattori Lindsay. I had an opportunity to work with Global Innovation and Design Lab this summer with lots of ideas for this very Milgard Hall, and I'm delighted to be here for its groundbreaking event. This is my second year as an MBA student. To be honest, I never thought of pursuing graduate degree. I came from Japan 20 years ago, and I have two 18-year-old sons, twins, and I have been a single mother for many years of their lives. I had no time or no energy to even think about pursuing higher education. Though I always had an affinity for University of Washington, when my sons were in high school, they participated in many college prep programs, such as Executive of Color, Mass Academy, through University of Washington, Seattle. Not only this program prepare my sons for college, but it also provided them a community with positive role models. And it also planted some seed inside of me. See, when you're an immigrant and when you're a single mother, there are a few places you can call a community and a few people you can rely on. But through my son's experience, I saw a university as one of the places that can offer opportunity and a community, regardless of where you come from and how you look. I saw it as a place of hope, where you can create better future for yourself and for your family. I applied to MBA program after I helped my son to apply for their colleges. Now my sons are sophomore at Brown University, and I am a second-year MBA student here at UW Tacoma. My sons and I are often compare our notes on how busy our school lives are. As you can do math by now, I am a little older than my average cohorts. Many of my friends who are in 40s are already starting to talk about retirement and life without hustle. And many times I agree with them. Working toward an MBA and working full-time is not easy, especially when you're in your 40s. I can't stay up late, like my cohorts in their 20s, to do homework, but I am very grateful to have this education and experience here at UW Tacoma. It's truly expanding my world, and it's great to be able to continue learning and growing regardless of your age. One of the things that surprised me here at UW Tacoma was many classes I had taken taught us to be authentic, vulnerable, and compassionate. Authenticity, vulnerability, and compassion. I didn't think I would hear these words in business class. I hear them a lot at yoga studio I go to. I appreciate how UW Tacoma is preparing us not only to be skillful in business, but also to be holistic and caring leaders. Compassionate is so needed in today's world. The professor at Macmillan from Global Innovation and Design Lab told us that core of design thinking is compassion and willingness to learn from others. In order to solve the real world today, we are asked to be vulnerable and to be comfortable being uncomfortable. The world we are living today is diverse, dynamic, and constantly changing. The design thinking teaches us to stay curious, open, ask questions, listen, and learn from others and the world around us. And ultimately, that will help us to learn more deeply about ourselves, and that is called courage. I love the diversity of this community and willingness and openness to learn from each other. I currently work for a software company as a revenue operation analyst. I work with a cross-functional team around the world: UK, Romania, South Africa, India, Mexico, China, Japan. List goes on and on. My job requires me to be open and flexible, collaborating with different teams and embracing different cultures and changes are the core of my job. I imagine being in the Milgard Hall is like being in the real world today. Collaboration between technology, business, and Global Innovation Design Lab is a new and better way to approach the real world today. I am very excited to see how Milgard Hall can equip us with the real-life problem-solving skill while connecting us with a community so that we can be open, creative, and compassionate future leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiho. It's now my pleasure to introduce the CEO. Thank you for being here tonight. The CEO of WSECU, Gary Swindler.
Thank you, Brian. It is wonderful to be here to celebrate the continued impact of UW-Tacoma on the students and the community. We have a lot of Huskies that work for us at our credit union, and even though I'm going to have to pause for boos and hisses here, my own diploma has some crimson and gray around the edges from across the mountain. There we go. Okay. But look, I wore a purple shirt for you. I wore a purple shirt. I committed. We're truly proud of the partnership we've been building with this institution. As a credit union, WSECU believes a strong community is one where individuals can achieve financial stability, well-being, and success. We support that vision by not only being a champion for our members' access, but also investing in nonprofit and community programs that increase access to high-quality education and that help people become stable and self-sufficient. Our support has helped UW-Tacoma to build a financial wellness program as part of the First Generation Initiatives. This program assists students that are first in their families to go to college, and that's over 56% of UW-Tacoma's population, as well as helping students of color and other underrepresented populations. So we're really excited to announce in the coming years we're even expanding our partnership with UW-Tacoma to support continued funding for financial wellness programs, support for the equity and inclusion, and emergency aid programs. Thank you for the amazing partnership and team at UW-Tacoma for this partnership. So now let's shift to the real star of the show. I have the privilege of introducing and bringing back to the stage your new chancellor. Most recently, Dr. Lang was president of Seattle Central College. In her time there, Dr. Lang led the college's efforts to build partnerships with local industry, government, and organizations to address community needs and help bridge the opportunity gaps in both Seattle and across Washington State. WSECU was one of those organizations she worked with. With Will Rance and our community relations team, we go many years back with Dr. Lang. And we are looking forward to continue our work with her here in Tacoma. Dr. Edwards Lang received both of her graduate degrees here at the University of Washington and spent more than half her career at UW, most recently as Vice President of Minority Affairs and Diversity from 2007 to 2015. So, Seattle's loss is Tacoma's big, big gain, right? People, put your hands together and give a warm welcome back to the Husky family for UW-Tacoma's new chancellor, Dr. Sheila Edwards Lang.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for the partnership with WSCCU. Okay. And thank you for the investment in our students. Wow. Yes, Brianna, you pulled off the weather today. Thank you for welcoming me back to the Husky family, but specifically to the UW-Tacoma campus. I'm truly proud to be here. And it's a privilege to have an opportunity to work with so many of you in this new context. Some of you I've worked with at the community college system. Some of you I worked with when I was in the College of Engineering. Some of you I worked with when I was in Minority Affairs and Diversity. So it really is like coming home. So although I am a new chancellor here at UW-Tacoma, and I'm a new resident of Tacoma, I moved to the Proctor District last week. Still got a lot of boxes in my house to unpack. I needed to have an unpacking party. So I'm a new resident here in Tacoma, but I am not new to the Puget Sound region. I'm not new to UW, and I'm definitely not new to higher education. One thing we've heard here today is that it takes a village to build a project like Milgard Hall. More than a village, it takes a whole city worth of people working together to make something like Milgard Hall happen. And it takes a whole city and a village to build a campus like UW-Tacoma. One thing I've learned in my life, that anything worth having, anything worth doing, really, it takes a whole community to get it done. For me, that started back when I was a little girl. I grew up, many of you know, I grew up in rural Mississippi and moved to California when I was a teenager. But as I was growing up, I was really fortunate to have a strong community around me, especially growing up in the 1960s. In college, I went to UC Irvine in California as an undergrad. And even there, I was part of a small but close-knit community of like-minded students and faculty and staff of color who supported us at that institution. Like me, and 56% of our students here at UW-T, many of those supporters were first in their family to go to college. I came to this region to go to graduate school at UW-Seattle. I got my master's there. I am a double dog. People know when I left and went to Seattle Central for 7 years, it's like I was still a double dog. I never took my W bracelet off. But the credentials that I got from the University of Washington allowed me to launch a long career in higher ed administration. I went to Western Washington University for 5 years. I went actually on a one-year internship. Students you probably shouldn't listen to this part. I went for a one-year internship and stayed for 5 years because I loved it so much. I loved working at Western. But for the past 6 years, I've been at Seattle Central, where, as Gary mentioned, I had an opportunity to do a lot of partnership work, a lot of community building, and really showing the community that although we had changed our name to take the word community out, it was Seattle Central College, the community was still part and heart of what we were doing on that institution. And that meant that we had to partner with community-based organizations, with industry, with everyone who was trying to work on economic development, on equity issues in the city. And so I spent a lot of my time doing community work. That is why I was so attracted to UW-Tacoma and to the Tacoma community. This community, for years, had a vision of what an institution of higher education could do to revive the city, to contribute to economic stability of families and business and community here. And this community pulled together to make sure that this campus, 32 years later, is still standing for community. I hope to challenge all of us to think about what UW-Tacoma will look like. You know, when I was interviewing for the job, I said, you know, maybe they chose me because I said, what we're going to do in the next 5 years is important, but really, as a community, we really need to think about what do we want this institution to be for this community, for this region, for this state, 100 years from now. We have to think long-term, and I know that many of you in this room, when you have that vision of what this university could be, can relate when I say we need to think long-term. And this building, this innovative, collaborative partnership that this building represents is going to be part of that next 100 years for us. So today and every day at UW-Tacoma, we offer the excellence of a UW education to a diverse community that is bursting with creativity and innovation. But you all know that too many in our community and in our state have not yet had access to what is here at UW-Tacoma, where equity powers excellence and students have the opportunity to realize their full potential. This focus on both equity and excellence will fuel the growth of our campus and our next 100 years. Surprisingly, you know, I study equity. I did my dissertation on it. I worked in equity field for a long time, so I'm always surprised when people try and pit the two against each other. For me, equity and excellence go hand in hand. We cannot achieve excellence unless we have those diverse opinions, those diverse perspectives at the table, in our classrooms, on our faculty. So I don't think that they are mutually exclusive. I think that we have to have both. I'm so proud to be the chancellor of a campus where that commitment to both equity and excellence and its focus on publicly engaged scholarship, its groundbreaking research and initiatives, its access-centered mission, and award-winning students. I don't know if Andre is here, but this year we had 2 Truman Scholars. That is quite an accomplishment. That's sort of like the inside baseball. So for people who are not in higher ed, you don't realize many institutions never get a Truman Scholar. So for us to have 2 in 1 year is quite extraordinary. So I'm one of those people who likes to get things done, but I like to do it in partnership, and I like to do it in community. So I'm going to issue a call to action to all of you here today, because all of you have been contributors in some way to this great institution. We need you. I look forward to engaging with you and with our broader community to learn what you envision for UW-Tacoma, what you think we should be working towards as we move towards that next 100 years, and how we can partner to maximize our impact in this community. Working together, despite the daunting challenges of the past 2 years, and unfortunately, I think that COVID is with us for quite a long time. But by working together, I truly believe that we can continue to grow this institution to make it the greatest urban serving university this region, this state, and this country has ever seen or experienced. Every day across our growing campus, and it is growing, every day across our campus, and it is growing, it includes one of our most diverse student bodies in the state. And it's soon going to include this incredible building. Students are learning to find their passion, they're learning to find their purpose, and they're working towards making this city, this region, and our world a much better place. That's the reason I get up every day. I tell people I am one of the luckiest people on the planet. I get up every day and I get to do what I know I was meant to do on this earth, and that is to help students realize their passion, their dreams, to create opportunity for our community. And that's the reason why I'm so very proud to be the new chancellor here at UW-Tacoma, because I think that you believe that creating opportunities for our kids, for our families, and our communities is so important. And I'm looking forward to doing that work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor, and welcome to the University of Washington, Tacoma. I can tell you we had our first advisory board meeting last week, and it was spectacular. So welcome here. I just want to say, just to wrap up the program, just thank you to those of you that have helped with this event tonight. Thank you to those of you that helped launch this incredible game-changing project that you see here off to the side. And thank you to everyone here for your support of this organization, lifting it up in this community and making it such an important part of who we are and what it means to be in Tacoma and from Tacoma. Thanks for coming tonight.